For nearly 4 decades, KARE 11's photojournalists and storytellers have set a standard known the nation over for capturing moments that matter.
It's ripping entire pine trees into the air.
Please, more people need more volunteers.
Put the pedal to the metal and get some momentum up.
It's just, me and nature.
Oh, no!
And images that touch the heart.
The war is not far away.
When I was in the 6th grade, I wanted to be a sister.
Everybody knows Bruno.
As we close out 2021, we thought we'd take a minute to reflect on those moments from the last year captured by our team. We'll hear what stories mattered most to them and get their thoughts on what impacted them this past year. Join us now for Image 21.
All right, rolling here.
This has been a very dynamic year.
I was scared. I was very scared.
After 2020, we were all hoping for a normal 2021.
This has that disaster look to it.
It didn't come without its challenges for sure.
Police! Anybody in the building?
Don't let them do the stories like this!
At the same time, a lot of really fun stories.
It's too much birthday.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you only turn 100 once.
We haven't had a good one like this for
2021 has seen some improvement. We love and need.
I love showcasing the good in people.
Our stories have taken us all over Minnesota this year.
Spread 5 also runs through the heart of the Fond du Lac Reservation.
This is a brand new route through hundreds of miles of wetlands and territories that have no pipelines in them.
One of the greatest things about my job is that I get to take part and see things firsthand, be a part of really some incredible, inspiring stuff firsthand, to be a part of it.
Oh my goodness, Amanda.
It's your scooter, one of them.
Kenny uses his scooter to visit friends and get around Washington County.
I don't believe this. It goes so fast, I can get a ticket.
We started the year working from home, doing a lot of our interviews over Zoom, kind of isolated from the community to an extent.
I've never heard the stadium that quiet before.
COVID took away the atmosphere that makes football special.
I love covering high school football. This year in particular, especially when people came out in bigger numbers that were normal in games, because they appreciated the opportunity to attend an event, be out, something that they couldn't do the previous year.
This year, I felt like we were able to kind of get back.
Do you feel the love?
No. No.
And do what it is we do best, and that is tell the community stories.
It was a welcome home fit for a rock star. With cameras rolling, posters waving, and people cheering. In support of Olympic gymnasts Grace McCallum and Suni Lee.
This is absolutely amazing. It's amazing to see all of your faces and just to be here all together.
I was very impressed with the staff this year, and all years really. But, this year we all really came together, I felt, as a group, and we wanted to make sure we were in the right places to cover the events that unfolded throughout the year.
Last one. Y'all ready?
There was a shooting in this neighborhood at Phelps Park. When you hear of elementary age kids hitting the deck, running for shelter, hiding from gunfire, ricocheting bullets, your heart kind of drops.
Who was here? Raise your hand. When it happened? Yeah. Someone had an altercation and somebody shot some shots, right?
When we went there the day after to listen to him speak to his kids and explain the situation, I knew they were in good hands just based on what he said to them. I knew that they were going to be okay and that the coach and the family members and the kids were all going to be all right.
We have to go through things together. It helps you, makes you stronger. When you go through hard times with family, it makes you stronger, it makes the bond stronger.
The shooting rattled some of the players.
You guys can always come to me with anything you have, any issues. Throw the pads on.
But it did not stop parents from bringing their kids to practice the next night.
Our kids
live here. This is our neighborhood.
They were just trying to go get something to eat.
It's been a turbulent year. There's no doubt about it. But I'm encouraged. For every story of sadness and violence and loss that we cover, there's always that community coming together.
The shores of Sand Lake, roughly 20 miles outside of Isabella, usually don't look like this. The Greenwood fire was up north. It was far. We were based out of Castle Danger because we couldn't get any closer because the fire was still pretty active.
You should have a 100-foot area of defensible space.
The flavor that scene leaves behind in my brain is the fact that David Porter is extremely stubborn. If he wants to get something, if he wants to capture an image the way he sees it in his head, he will get that. It felt like we were incredibly close, and it's true, we were incredibly close. And I told him, don't go any further, don't go any further, and he continued to do so. And that's how we got those creative, amazing images, because he had his mind set to it, and he got it.
I did one with Charmaine. It was like a Rondo neighborhood story.
This is the nation's first memorial park dedicated to a community that was destroyed by freeway construction.
To build a highway, more than 700 family homes were destroyed, and 300 businesses were forced to close or torn down. At the time, 80% of St. Paul's African American population called Rondo home. The community was gutted, leaving those who stayed behind longing for what once existed.
Not being from here, it was interesting to learn the history of that area.
Some 70 years before Morris became a state university, in 1887, a Catholic nun started the Morris Indian School.
A lot of people didn't know the history behind it.
In the heart of the Morris campus, a stone sculpture overlooks the student traffic. It is an Anishinaabe grandmother, warm and resilient, a grandson in a boarding school uniform, terrified.
The story about the Morris Indian School, which was something here that was local.
Children received uniforms and haircuts, allowed to speak English only.
One of the main goals was to assimilate and exterminate the Indian within.
It was a school that had a past that needed to be reckoned with, and that there were students at the school who wanted to look for the possibility of graves there on the college grounds.
While records show children died at the school, the university says there is no record indicating where children might have been buried.
None of those maps reference a cemetery, which makes it enormously challenging, and the ground has been significantly disturbed over time.
The Indian boarding school story was pretty intense in the sense that I'd heard of the history, but not to the extent that we learned and that we were able to tell our audience. It's horrific that it went on for as many years as it did, if at all. And I don't know, it was just a hard thing to wrap your head around because most people had never even heard of it.
Still to come.
It's a plea for justice. It's a plea for humanity.
Minnesota becomes the epicenter of the pain and the conversation about race in America.
Saying I hope justice is done today.
Plus,
where's your bubble school?
We take a look back at some of the lighter moments.
I'm a nostalgic old fool, I suppose.
Captured by the KARE 11 photography staff.
The quality is great.
In 2021. That's all when Image 21 continues.
No one was really sure which way the verdict was going to go.
You know that you're on the front line of history.
It was definitely interesting to feel like we were the epicenter of the world, because we were, with the significance of that.
Let's go, let's go!
It's like there's something I've never seen before or experienced, and I hope to God I never have to. But it's also something that I'm proud that I was a part of.
What do we want?
I mean, this is one of those things that they will be reading in textbooks and talking about in history classes for years to come.
If there was a worst case scenario for something to happen during the trial of Derek Chauvin, bad news.
As crowds gathered at the intersection of 63rd and Lee in Brooklyn Center.
Like a minute later, I called and his girlfriend answered, which was the passenger in the car, and said that he'd been shot.
A lot of anger. A lot of anger. I saw that anger on full display at the police department. People began showing up, protesting the death of Dante Wright.
Moving back. It was an uneasy feeling again. You felt the tension in the air. You felt that this community was once again at a breaking point.
And it wasn't pretty. On both sides, to see people hit with less than lethal sponge rounds, rubber bullets, and that tear gas.
Like, I couldn't breathe, I can't see.
I remember rolling up to a shopping center in Brooklyn Center.
Why y'all let them do the stores like this?
You have to be the objective journalist there. All you can do is sit back and watch.
Police! Anybody in the building?
Police would come, store would clear out, police would leave, people jumping back through windows. Again, it was a lot like watching May 2020 all over again.
For the past 3 weeks, they have worked as they watched.
5-306. It wears on you. It's kind of like reopening a wound.
But this afternoon at Urban Touch Barbers, the shop stopped.
I was out there down at the courthouse for the verdict, and I was nervous.
Hope justice is done today.
People were saying under their breath the city was going to burn if the verdict went the other way.
Members of the jury, I will now read the verdict.
I was telling people literally standing next to me, they're reading the verdict right now.
Everyone was very quiet. It felt like you could hear a pin drop. And finally, when that graphic came on television,
Find the defendant guilty.
there was a range of emotions.
And it was so powerful to be out there, show what people were feeling. Oh, thank you, Jesus! Just to see what it was like. I didn't think we was going to win the way we did. It was just simply, I can't put it in enough words, but it was just incredible.
I'm very proud to be a Minnesotan today. It's not always easy to be proud of where we live or where we're from, but I'm as much proud to be a Minnesotan than a Parisian.
Still ahead.
Hello, how are you?
Who else sings to you anymore?
A look back at some of the more memorable moments captured this year.
I wanted to go up the North Shore because I love the North Shore of Minnesota. And we found this cool story kayaking out on Superior where there are a number of shipwrecks along the North Shore. We found this one shipwreck. You're able to kayak out to it, and that ship went down in the storm. That is the reason they built Split Rock Lighthouse. And it was cool to look down and see the reason why that lighthouse is there. Oh, that was some of the most fun I've ever had at Care 11. That was one of those moments I'm like, I cannot believe they are paying me to do this.
I had to kind of knock on doors and pull into people's private properties to ask where this telephone, payphone was that this gentleman had put in front of his yard. And so after a good hour and a half of searching, I found it, connected with him. He was like, yeah, absolutely, come and talk to us. Turned out to be a really quirky, fun story. In the back of our minds knew we needed, because of COVID and all this sadness, and we were like, you know what, let's do a fun little quirky story.
The quality is great.
It turned out to be really fun, a lot more fun than we had imagined.
I would say my favorite story of the year was the story of Jerry Peterson.
A nostalgic old fool, I suppose.
And he had a collection of over 750,000 postcards. He had built this thing up for decades. It was a fascinating story because he had done his bit and he was not only closing up shop, but He was selling his collection.
I've been doing this for a long time and need to smell the roses a little bit, I suppose.
You know, a postcard is a snapshot of history, and that's what I feel like I get every day.
I've had a couple stores that I particularly like.
I was on routine patrol and I came up to this intersection and I looked south and I saw a bright light just over the center of the roadway.
One of those was about the most famous UFO case in the state of Minnesota, which Chris and I went up north to the small town where this all occurred and went and saw the actual police car that was hit by a UFO.
This is the big thing that they come to see from all over the United States. People have come to see this car.
Incredibly fun and just very challenging. I always try to make it everything the best I can and try to challenge myself all the time with each of the stories. And like I said, I've been doing this nearly 40 years and I think I'm doing some of the best work I've ever had a chance to.
Stories that I tend to like the most are the ones where it was just a wonderful experience to be part of someone's life that day.
Get it, Ma!
Brad's rink, a father that used to do a backyard hockey rink for his family, had passed away and spent 2 days with the family, Boyd Hoopert and I did.
We love to skate with you guys.
As they spread his ashes next to the hockey rink in the backyard and flooded the rink. And it's a really interesting experience for me to be let into those worlds and let into those lives.
Tonight was so fun. It was.
Those are usually the ones that I hold closer than necessarily how the story turned out.
It's a story that I covered up near War Road, Minnesota, and the Northwest Angle, which is the far northern point of the state. At the Northwest Angle, at the time, they were completely landlocked. The Canadian border was shut down because of COVID, and nobody was getting to the Northwest Angle for business.
We had 0 people at our place.
Yeah.
0.
So Minnesotans, being resilient, found a way to get customers up to the Angle and get business to the people who need it to survive up there. They decided to make an ice road on Lake of the Woods, out in the middle of one of the largest lakes in Minnesota, and you're on an ice road. It literally felt like you were in the Arctic.
I thought it was kind of crazy.
To witness that, to see those guys out there pushing that snow on that ice was probably one of the most unique stories I've ever been on.
Sink or swim. So we just keep swimming.
As a team of many in the KARE 11 family, we just wanted to recognize all of those talented photojournalists, storytellers, and editors that helped bring all of our stories together over the last year. And as always, thank you, as we are here to tell your stories. Good night.